Buddhism for Today, The Essential Wisdom of the Threefold Lotus Sutra by Nikkyo Niwano. Part 2, The Sutra of the Lotus Flower of the Wondrous Dharma. Chapter 13, Encouragement to Hold Firm. In Kumarajiva's translation of the Lotus Sutra, Chapter 13 is called the Quan Chi chapter. Quan means to encourage, that is, to offer or recommend the teaching to others, while Chi indicates embracing or upholding, also translated as keeping. This chapter describes a pledge by the virtuous bodhisattvas in the assembly, who through the Buddha's exposition to this point have fully realized the magnificence of the teaching of the wondrous Dharma Flower Sutra. They promise, in the presence of the Buddha, their firm resolve to spread the sutra following his passing, no matter what difficulties they may encounter. Before one can encourage others to embrace the teaching, however, one must first develop within oneself an unshakable determination to keep the Lotus Sutra, the supreme Dharma of the Buddha. It is interesting to note that, despite this chapter's title, the phrase, encourage others to embrace the sutra, does not actually appear in the text, but in this context, indicates that everything begins and ends in our own resolve and vows. We must not overlook this most important point of the chapter. Why the Buddha waited to give some disciples an assurance of Buddhahood. In this chapter, the Buddha also assures the supreme perfect awakening of the nuns Gautami and Yasodhara. Gautami, a feminine form of the Buddha's family name, was the sister of Shakyamuni Buddha's birth mother, Mahamaya. It was Gautami who actually raised Shakyamuni because Mahamaya died soon after giving birth to him. Gautami was an outstanding woman who nurtured the Buddha with no less affection than a biological mother would, and therefore she was given the Dharma name Mahaprajapati, meaning the way of great affection. The nun Yasodhara was Shakyamuni's wife prior to his renunciation, and also the mother of Rahula, who has already received an assurance of Buddhahood in Chapter 9. The death of the Buddha's father, King Suddhodana, freed Gautami and Yasodhara from social obligations, but also made them acutely aware of the suffering of human life. They took this loss as an opportunity to realize their desire to become direct disciples of the Buddha, and after joining Shakyamuni's community, they accumulated spiritual disciplines, becoming impeccable nuns beyond reproach. We may be puzzled about why the Buddha left assurances of Buddhahood for disciples of this caliber until last. The daughter of the Dragon King, a girl only 8 years old, who was not even a human being, and moreover was but an indirect disciple, received an assurance of Buddhahood ahead of both Gautami and Yasodhara. This order of precedence is not without significance, however. I will consider 2 reasons in detail. First, just as in the case of Ananda and Rahula, for those closest to the Buddha, which would of course also include the nuns Mahaprajapati and Yasodhara, familiarity and intimacy can become a hindrance to the cultivation of spiritual disciplines. The order in which the Buddha gives assurances of Buddhahood does not imply that these 2 nuns were inferior to the dragon girl. What the Buddha teaches us here is that someone like the dragon girl, a child who is a total stranger to the Buddha, may be able to accept the Buddha Dharma with relative ease, whereas sharing the teachings to help transform those closest to us, such as our parents and significant others, may be extremely difficult. Second, because anyone can attain Buddhahood, the rapidity of one's liberation and attainment of Buddhahood does not depend on how one encountered the Dharma or on one's social status. It does not matter if a person is a direct disciple of Shakyamuni Buddha, someone born in an age long after the Buddha's lifetime, or a person in a foreign country. If someone simply receives the right teaching, accepting it just as it is, they can be liberated. The 8-year-old daughter of the Dragon King represents this sort of open and sincere heart, which is like that of a child, and we can also understand her realm of dragons as a foreign land with non-human living beings. The awakening of the Dragon King's daughter demonstrates the vast inclusiveness of the Buddha's teachings, that all living beings can be liberated equally, regardless of nationality or even their species. Accordingly, we realize that the teachings of the Buddha in this chapter carries far deeper universal implications than simply displaying women's attainment of Buddhahood. Let us now shift to the main topic of Chapter 13. The vivid demonstration of the dragon girl's attainment of Buddhahood has left all in the assembly who saw it utterly astonished. The Bodhisattva Medicine King and the Bodhisattva Great Joy in Teaching, together with their retinues of Bodhisattva attendants, make the following vow while standing in the presence of the Buddha. Please do not worry, world-honored one, for after you enter extinguishment, we will all do our utmost to spread the magnificent teaching throughout the world. In an evil age to come, living beings' inclination to do good, their roots of goodness, will dwindle, their prideful arrogance will increase, and they will want to profit from everything, always seeking monetary benefit. Moreover, their unwholesome roots, that is, their inclination to bear grudges against others, to hate and feel jealous of them, will intensify, and they will lose all resolve to free themselves from delusion. Although it will be difficult to teach and transform such living beings, we will summon the utmost forbearance to steadfastly embrace and protect this teaching, sparing neither our bodies nor our lives to do so. The maxim of practitioners of the Lotus Sutra, sparing neither our bodies nor our lives for the cause of the Dharma, derives from this passage. Next, the 500 arhats in the assembly and 8,000 other living beings, including both those trained and still in training, make this vow. World-honored one, we also vow to spread this teaching in other lands, because the virtuous bodhisattvas have already vowed to undertake the teaching and transformation of living beings in this difficult Saha world. As soon as the 500 arhats and the 8,000 other living beings finish speaking, the nun Mahaprajapati, the Buddha's aunt, along with many other nuns, both trained and still in training, rise from their seats. With the same resolve, they reverently place their palms together and stand gazing up at the honored face of the Buddha. When the Buddha sees this, he addresses the nun Mahaprajapati. Gautami, why are you looking at me with such an expression of worry on your face? Are you afraid that you will not receive an assurance of attaining Buddhahood because you have not heard me mention you by name? Please be reassured that all who resolve to attain the awakening of a Buddha and devote themselves to undertaking the way of the Bodhisattva will certainly become Buddhas, regardless of whether they are male or female. The Buddha then proceeds to give an assurance of Buddhahood to Gautami, together with 6,000 other nuns, both trained and still in training. Seeing this, the nun Yasodhara, the mother of the Buddha's son Rahula, thinks, "Now I am the only one left who has not received an assurance of Buddhahood, but I am also determined to practice the way of the Bodhisattva with all my might, so the Buddha will surely give me such an assurance." The Buddha, perceiving Yasodhara's thoughts, responds by immediately giving her an assurance of Buddhahood. In the joy of their gratitude, Mahaprajapati and Yasodhara, together with their retinues of nuns, offer heartfelt thanks by praising the Buddha in verse. All the nuns then promise to persevere in spreading the teaching of the Lotus Sutra in lands and other regions. The Buddha then looks at the multitude of bodhisattvas. They have all attained the stage of non-regression, which indicates the level of advanced bodhisattvas of firm faith. Because they are absolutely determined to become Buddhas and have already achieved a degree of self-perfection, they will never retreat in their progress toward supreme perfect awakening or regress to the level of an ordinary delusional living being. They are all bodhisattvas who diligently spread the teaching and possess dharanis. To say that they possess dharanis means that they have the power to impede all evils by opposing them with all that is good. Seeing that the gaze of the Buddha is fixed on them, they rise from their seats, go before the Buddha, and all with the same resolve reverently place their palms together and think, "If the world-honored one also commands us to tenaciously embrace and spread this sutra by teaching it throughout the world, we absolutely intend to do as the Buddha instructs, proclaiming this Dharma by teaching it everywhere. But now the Buddha is silent and gives us no commands. What should we do?" Unable to simply stand there holding in their wish to respectfully obey the Buddha and fulfill their original vows, the bodhisattvas raise a lion's roar and utter the following vow with no hint of hesitation. World-honored one, after the Tathagata passes away, we will go anywhere and everywhere, taking every opportunity to spread this teaching and encourage all living beings to believe it themselves and teach it to others. We will also lead them to practice the Dharma correctly and remember it exactly as the Buddha has taught. All this will be done with the authority and power of the Buddha, so we ask that, even after you enter nirvana, you protect us from afar and give us your strength. The closing verse of chapter 13. The bodhisattvas then raise their voices again in unison, composing a verse that expresses their intent along these lines. Please do not worry, for even in an intolerably evil age after the Buddha's passing, we will spread this sutra by teaching it everywhere. There will be many ignorant people who mock and insult us, even do us harm, yet we will endure it all. In that age of the decline of the Dharma, even the wisdom of monks and nuns will be corrupted. They will have a strong sense of entitlement, and full of conceit, will assume they are already enlightened, claiming to have obtained what they have not. Dwelling in quiet forests and wearing patched garments of rags, they will live in seclusion and assume a look of composure, pretending to walk the true way, yet all the while looking down their noses at everyone else. The three kinds of powerful enemies. In their verse, the multitude of bodhisattvas describe the three kinds of arrogant people. In the first kind, some ordinary people ridicule, mock, and persecute practitioners of the Lotus Sutra, despite knowing absolutely nothing about the teaching. These are people of worldly arrogance. In the second kind, there are religious people who, convinced of the superiority of their own teaching or faith, criticize the Lotus Sutra and obstruct its spread. These are people of religious arrogance. In the third kind, there are clergy who are inwardly consumed by a craving for fame and wealth, yet assume an air of saintly piety. Since they convincingly pretend to have transcended the ordinary world, many publicly influential people trust and rely on them. The clergy actually lead half-hearted religious lives, however, and offer unimpassioned teachings to others. For this reason, they feel threatened by a dynamic teaching like the Lotus Sutra, which is capable of liberating all people, and so they use their influence to suppress and obstruct it. These are people of falsely pious arrogance. These three groups of arrogant people are also known collectively as the three kinds of powerful enemies of those who practice the Lotus Sutra. The third group, the people of falsely pious arrogance, are said to be the most harmful of all. The multitude of bodhisattvas continue. People of falsely pious arrogance will give the appearance of being enlightened, but inwardly they will be attached to the greed for material goods, the lust for power, and the ambition for fame. They will teach the Dharma for lay people who wear white robes, wealthy and aristocratic believers, and the people of the world will revere them like arhats with transcendent powers. Using their secluded abodes as proof of their piety, they will attack us by criticizing us for mixing with the masses of the secular world and teaching the Lotus Sutra to all people. The people of falsely pious arrogance will make up accusations such as, all of these people who teach the Dharma Flower Sutra do so because they are driven by greed for material goods, lust for power, and the ambition for fame. They teach a heresy, this sutra they themselves have forged, to delude the people of the world. The people of falsely pious arrogance will not only constantly disparage us among the masses, but will even ingratiate themselves with kings, ministers, powerful Brahmins, influential figures, and other groups of monks in order to bitterly denounce practitioners of the Lotus Sutra. No matter how severely these three kinds of powerful enemies persecute practitioners of the Lotus Sutra, the latter should remain determined to spread the sutra by teaching it everywhere, and just like the non-regressing bodhisattvas in this chapter, never retreat from the state of perfection they have already attained. Unsparing our bodies and lives. The bodhisattvas next demonstrate this determination in the following section of the sutra, which begins with the powerful line, "However, we do revere the Buddha." If we express this section of verse in contemporary language in order to better grasp its meaning, it would read as follows. Since we truly revere the Buddha from the depths of our heart, we hold this sutra, which is his supreme teaching, in equal reverence. It is for this reason that we will embrace and protect this sutra and endure any persecution in order to propagate it. Even if others, half in jest, sarcastically taunt us by saying things such as, all of you are no doubt Buddhas, you are so remarkable, we will tenaciously withstand it. Future ages of the decline of the Dharma will abound in terrifying and fearsome things. Demons will slip into people's minds, taking possession of them in order to slander and disgrace us. But because we revere the Buddha and have faith in him, we will don the armor of forbearance and protect the Dharma, standing our ground through non-violent but firm resolve. For the sake of spreading this sutra by teaching it everywhere, we will withstand all difficulties, sparing not even our bodies and lives, regretting only that there may be even a single person who has not yet encountered this unsurpassed teaching. In the future age, after the Buddha has passed, we will carefully protect and uphold this Dharma Flower Sutra that he has entrusted to us. The corrupt monks living in ages of the decline of the Dharma will not be able to comprehend the depths of the truth of skillful means, which is the way to appropriately tailor the teaching of the Dharma according to the person and circumstances. Faced with erring monks such as these, we will be insulted and excluded and may even be driven from temples and other places of refuge from which we spread the teachings. We will withstand all these various difficulties because we cherish the instructions of the Buddha. We do not fear whatever difficulties or opposition may befall us. If there is even a single person who seeks the Dharma, whether in a small village or in a great city or town, and whatever strong enemy awaits us, we will set out for those places and teach the Dharma that Buddha has entrusted to us. We are not simply our ordinary selves. We are emissaries of the Buddha, and we have nothing to fear no matter how great the multitude that surrounds us. We will do our utmost to teach the Dharma. Do not worry, Buddha, for here we clearly pledge, in the presence of the world-honored one and the Buddhas from throughout the universe, to do so. Know our hearts and permit us to share this teaching in future ages of the decline of the Dharma. These words are indeed a lion's roar, replete with self-confidence and courage. The most impressive lines of the verse are, in the exact language of the sutra, as follows. We who revere and believe in the Buddha will don the armor of forbearance. For the sake of expounding this sutra, we will endure all of these difficulties. Unsparing of our bodies and lives, we will care only for the unsurpassable way. These bodhisattvas can withstand whatever troubles they may face and endure all outside pressure because they revere and have faith in the Buddha. They leave us with no doubts, convincing us that it is just as they say. Every time we who embrace the Lotus Sutra recite this portion of the closing verse of chapter 13, it invigorates us. We feel physically galvanized and experience a sense of courage welling up anew from the depths of our hearts and minds. For the practitioner of the Lotus Sutra, this is one of the most important verses in the entire text.